Before we begin, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Aura. Are you familiar with the fastest growing crime in America? No, it's not my utter lack of basketball knowledge. It's data theft. And in the time I've talked, another person has become a victim of it to join the millions who have. Most people are surprised it happens, and for good reason. My info's supposed to be secure. How could people have accessed it? I've had family members that have been victims, and the panic of seeing their passwords change and bank accounts dry up is something they'll never forget. To combat this menace, Aura's identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, antivirus software, and a VPN all-in-one. It monitors the dark web for your personal information and sends alerts when they find your information in the open. When I looked for myself, they had found 4 separate instances where my email was leaked and 13 malware threats on my computer that were neutralized. Every second counts. And with Aura, they notify you of changes 4 times faster than their competitors. With this knowledge and protection in mind, I feel more at ease. If this sounds interesting to you, you can get a 14-day trial by going to aura.com/utree. Don't risk playing with your personal information near fire. Internet security is vital. And that part's taken care of with Aura. Now on to the video. It's a fantastic time in the NBA. The Lakers are hot garbage and parity is at some of its greatest levels in years. It's a new world for us to enjoy, and the playoffs have brought about treasures aplenty. If only everybody weren't injured for them, I'd say it was near perfection, but otherwise the time is right for rambling. Let's go over all the contenders. A sentimental year for the Spurs. Pop solidified his legacy by becoming the winningest coach in NBA history. San Antonio may be denying their desperate need for a rebuild, but their stubbornness prevented the Lakers from being the flaming wreckage that they are in the play-in games. Spurs, congratulations on the middling success, but now's the time for you to step aside for New Orleans' moment in the sun. You understand, right? Of course you do. Now get out and let the real teams play. I firmly believe the only reason why the play-in games exist are so the Charlotte Hornets can pretend they're relevant. We'll hear all this buzz about them. No, Tree, this team is different. They only have 1 terrible contract on the roster instead of 4. They're very young and incredibly skilled at perimeter play. Michael Jordan isn't meddling. Lecture me all you want about them, but the reality is when they get an opportunity to emerge as something, they shit themselves. Getting blown the fuck out in the least surprising element of the NBA season. This failure's cost James Borrego his job, but mediocrity continues on. They better break out of it soon. This team had so much hope a few seasons ago. Snatching Kawhi from the clutches of the Lakers and agreeing to a subprime mortgage for PG-13. Making it past the second round for the first time ever last season, but then the bill came due. It's in Kawhi. Turns out that injury last playoffs was a torn ACL that needed surgery. He wouldn't play the entire year because the Clippers are still paying for the sins of Donald Sterling. When up against a poverty franchise in Minnesota, LA was feeling generous. The Timberwolves fulfilled a Make-A-Wish campaign and celebrated their play-in win as if they won 4 consecutive Super Bowls. However, when the elimination game came into view... oh my god, the memes are real. Give it up for Pandemic! With no Paul George, the Clippers were fucked with metal spikes. Even at home, they are swallowed whole by the damn Pelicans. A team that gave Tony Snell actual minutes in an elimination game. This is a crushing blow back to reality. The only win they can claim is that their first-round pick they traded didn't win the lottery. Bring on the pain! What do you say when a team that exceeded expectations and emerged as a playoff suitor suffers a bitter defeat in the end? They finally recovered from LeBron fucking off and leaving the team with a massive bill to pay. Yet it wasn't enough. Losing to the chaotic Brooklyn Nets is one thing, even if it would have been hilarious if they fell to shit off the bat. The problem lies against the Hawks, cruising to a double-digit lead in the first quarter only to be unable to stop Trae Young. Season over. It sucks, but don't panic. Knowing the Eastern Conference, there will be plenty of chances to get back to contending status. Just don't lose 8 of 11 to finish the season next time. You can't bitch at the Pels this year. They fought hard while undermanned. They knocked down Phoenix a few times, but the Suns were just too much for them to handle. It is what it is, but there's a bit to look forward to. That Lakers pick they have is much higher than previously predicted. CJ McCollum is a needed piece that will be here long term. Brandon Ingram is emerging into a star player in his own right. And perhaps Zion Oden will manage to play at least a quarter of the season next year. I'm an optimist. Although I'm talking about New Orleans, so this is probably the kiss of death for their franchise. Minnesota knows pain unlike anything else. Why else do you think people tolerate that city? Their sports teams prepare them for bleak outcomes. With their talent and skill, the Timberwolves had endless chances to make something of themselves, but they kept blowing it every single time. They blew double-digit fourth-quarter leads in 3 of their losses. One of those leads was by 26 fucking points. What part of keep the foot on the fucking throat does this team not understand? Were you hungover from celebrating that play-in victory? To be fair, it's the only thing that pathetic city will ever win. As Minnesota continues to fuck up to irrelevance, Ja Morant does the gritty on their logo. That's how little the NBA respects you. You blew it! When is this team going to have everything meshed together properly? On paper, the Nuggets are contenders. The problem is that their best laid plans often go awry. Jamal Murray's recovery from injury has been much more prolonged than expected. His ACL tear has had setback after setback to the point where he never played this year. Doesn't matter who else is on the roster, Jokic can't do it alone. Against a resurgent Warriors team, you're better off trying to skydive off the Rockies without a parachute. Perhaps someday everything will click for Denver. That day, however, is not today. The Nuggets must play second fiddle until Murray's long overdue return. Sometimes I sit and wonder why the Warriors get an easy road nearly every run. Another year, another complete and utter failure by a core that's allegedly at an impasse every other month. This one should have been a gimme with their talents. Dallas was without Luka for the first 3 games, yet they still struggled. Instead of Rudy and Donovan thriving, it was an ascension to stardom for Jalen Brunson. No matter what they try with this group, there was only the role of bridesmaid in their future. Rudy Gobert's main skill in the clutch was of the profane variety. Everything else vanished. This might be the final straw for them. The rumors of splitting Gobert and Mitchell are spreading into every basketball circle. They'd be fools if they kept Gobert over Mitchell, but I'm not leaving anything to chance. With this in mind, I have to ask one question. What did this franchise do to piss off the gods? Was it moving from New Orleans? It's okay to tell us. The real problem with this scenario is that the Hawks were unable to face off against Ben Simmons. Unfortunately, Miami is much more formidable in both team structure and strategy. When you take away Trae Young, i.e. one of the only game changers on the team, Atlanta looks mighty useless. I know the Hawks' run last season was kind of fluky, but to fall like this? It's a bit ugly to take in. There's no need to panic, though. You can rebound from this, continue to build around Trae, and try to come back stronger next season. If you're lucky, you'll find a way to play Ben Simmons in a Game 7 again. Boston may not have a championship since 2008, but they're going to celebrate this series win like they just did. It's their bittersweet revenge against the horrible plague known as Kyrie. They know how he betrayed them with terrible play. They saw the Nets beat them last year. They've seen him turn into a cancer with his actions and negative headlines. Now they get to wallop on the super team that never was. The second version of such. It's been a hilarious year for the rest of us to watch. Steve Nash was repeatedly pantsed due to his tactics of letting talent bail him out. James Harden, who pouted his way out of Houston, proceeded to pout his way out of Brooklyn to vanish in the playoffs elsewhere. In return, they get Ben Simmons, who will be out all of next season for the horrible thing he calls fashion sense. Dude may have been bullied to hell and back, but the torture is just beginning for Brooklyn. This may have been their last shot with this core. I wouldn't want to sign Kyrie long-term either, but KD's starting to get pretty pissed over there. When you don't speak to the front office since the elimination, I call that alarming. Hell begins. The Knicks may still be a clown car, but they somehow might be in better shape. Did I just say that? Free from the horrors of Garpax, the Bulls are relevant again. Good work. I would say more, but this is the part where you receive your brutal slap back to reality by means of ass-kicking. Don't feel too bad, there are many teams that don't make it past Milwaukee. Even more that fail to take a pound of flesh in return. I'd be comforting in your decisive defeat, but danger lurks on the horizon. Zach LaVine is a pending free agent, until more than likely be fleeing the Windy City for much greener pastures, thus leaving the Bulls back in the same damn position they were in before. That playoff series was your final audition, Chicago. You may have blown it. Bitch about the refs all you want, but there's no denying that the Raptors were running on empty. They couldn't stop Embiid. Even with him being banged up, they had no weapons for Philly's big nor other weapons on their roster. Despite filling us with dreams of reverse sweeps, they lose and ask where they go from here. Kawhi leaving was probably the worst thing to happen for both parties, if we're being honest. The Raptors haven't replaced his production in the lineup, and Kawhi is currently load managing for 2024. I guess it's good that you're allowed to play in your home country again? Better than having to play in lands unknown. That was some of the most pathetic shit I've ever seen. Phoenix, weren't you supposed to be a shoo-in to represent the West in the finals? The whole revenge tour to finish what you started? That 2-0 series lead? The 3-2 series lead? Do any of those things mean anything to you? It was like everyone with a damn checked out. CP3 got pick and rolled to death at least 4 separate times. And the worst of it was in Games 6 and 7. They got blown to smithereens on both occasions. Watching Game 7 at home was like watching a loved one in hospice. Some of the most depressing sights imaginable for 60 minutes. You better fucking apologize for this travesty. This is supposed to be the mark of a championship contender? Booker and CP3 seemed to wonder when the next Taco Bell or State Farm commercial shoot was going to be. Sons, you deserve nothing but scorn. And it's only going to get worse from here. Remember when you needed to pay DeAndre Ayton, yet you didn't because Robert Sarver's a cheap ass? Well, he's an RFA now. Good luck trying to keep him around. Fucking idiots.
You blew it. Fish.
Things look bright in Memphis. They're legitimate contenders now. Ja Morant has become a transcendent superstar that wows audiences with his amazing feats. The Grizz are gunning for something greater, but they'll have to go through the double magic of Golden State to get there. Alas, there was no such luck on their side. It's going to be tough enough with their lack of depth to match them, but why not add shit to the pile with an injury to Ja Morant? God damn it, every fucking time the Warriors make a run, they either run into an injured team or they conveniently lose their best player. This isn't even a joke, it's the honest-to-God truth. The slim chance Memphis had was now gone. Golden State moves on. There is no God. We are fucked. You have that incredible comeback during Game 5 and then lay an egg like that? Look, I get the Bucks were without Chris Middleton and he's a significant part of their lineup, but he shouldn't have been the piece that took them out of the running. Is he really the glue that holds that team together? Giannis just wasn't Giannis. He was solid, but not otherworldly. Regard starting against the likes of Brown and Tatum, sorry, nope, that's gonna be a disaster. Game 6 and 7 were convincing wins for Boston, and thus earned the right to advance. To be fair, it may have more to do with them playing up to their potential, but I guess you could say that Milwaukee was buck-broken.
You suck.
Sometimes I wonder if the process was a success or a failure. It mostly depends on what you consider successful. If it was to get a game-changing player, then it was a success. If it was to win a championship, then it's been a failure. It's pretty hard to win a ring when Embiid is banged up with a litany of ailments that rob him of his ability. He was out for the first 2 games due to a broken orbital bone. And no matter how much of a badass he looked with the face protector on, he wasn't enough to save Philly from yet another second-round exit. His injuries were their death sentence. So by coming up short again, the question now is what the hell do you do? Philly is reaching the point of desperation as things fall apart around them. And they'll need a hero to reach salvation. Oh, that's right, I forgot you guys have James Harden now. Are you really all that surprised? It was a stunning win against a choking Suns team, but here's the part where you're Chris Rock at the Golden Globes. Slapped silly against Golden State no matter what they did. Luka was a fucking god. He averaged over 30 a game and they still had no chance against the Warriors in their depth. The Mavs were allowed to win 1 game. And that was it. Despite the endless stomping, it's not tragic whatsoever. It's been a good season for them. Shedding Tingus Pingus at the deadline was a surprise, but they found their new wingman in Jalen Brunson. He's due a big contract this offseason, but you'll be able to sign him to what he wants. You're gonna be able to do it, right? You had everything for the taking in front of you, yet still come up just short in the end. The Heat can lament how they missed Tyler Hero badly throughout this series, but no one in this world gives a shit about petty transgressions. Jimmy Buckets was out here trying to single-handedly carry this team to a finals berth. 5 against 1 for roughly the entire series because this team is trying to play these games on legendary mode. Despite it, Miami took Boston all the way to Game 7. Things seemed bleak in the 4th quarter, but behold an 11-point run to get them back in the game. They're down by 2. Jimmy Butler has the ball in his hands. He takes the shot and he misses. There was no reason to shoot there, man. You had so much time on the clock. Jimmy's legendary run has ended at the final boss. Boston wins. Perhaps next time Miami will give him some help to avoid this fate. I'm looking at you, Kyle Lowry. These playoffs have been known for 2 things. Everyone and their mother getting injured and blowouts. Great moments abound, but it would have been better if star players were healthy. So, show us the finals match. Oh, come on, Warriors versus Boston? You tease us with parity to give us this shit? Nothing against either franchise, they're not super teams, but fuck off. Okay, I'll give it a chance. Boston has built itself from within thanks to some shrewd drafting and Billy King's expert championship savvy. Golden State isn't the juggernaut they were. They They've slowly morphed into a team that thrives with their old core yet as unsung heroes throughout the lineup. They turned Gary Payton's kid into one of the best defenders in the league. He was a journeyman before this year. That takes skill. They're more of the 2015 Warriors than anything, but I still hate it. Cancerous fan base against cancerous fan base. Please kill me.
Booker turns, shoots, fires. Shot won't go. Tucker the rebound. And that'll do it. It's over. The Bucks have done it. The long wait has ended. After a half century, the Milwaukee Bucks are NBA champions once again.